Now we start to get into the meat of this discussion. We've talked about how difficulties and trials and that darkness that those bring can often produce despair and hopelessness, but that in the midst of that, we need to keep moving forward. We looked at an example in the Mighty Oaks story, understanding that none of this is about perfection. None of this is about keeping yourself from being hurt. It's about understanding that when you are hurt, there is still hope, there is still purpose. God has a redemptive plan for you, and a big part of that plan is reaching back and bringing others along. As we continue this discussion on specifically suicide, however, we need to take a look at the real cost of suicide. That's the title of this chapter, The Real Cost of Suicide. If you have your book, you can jump over to page 33 where this discussion begins. And this is such an important place for us to pause for just a few minutes. You see, often when a person gets to the place where they start thinking about ending their lives and they begin to justify that decision, they say things like this: my family would be better off without me. No one will miss me when I'm gone. Maybe they'll say, I can never get over this. I've made too many bad decisions to keep going. Perhaps it's simply a statement like this: life just hurts too bad to keep going. I just want the pain to stop. So many will come back to that statement that says something like this: everyone else would be better if I wasn't here. This is the solution. Now, in the moment, that may be entirely rational. To take one's life, we often frame as being cowardly or an escape. So often, though, in a mental state where someone makes that decision, it is the rational decision. Now, it's not right, but in their mental state, it makes sense. If I can remove myself from this issue, everyone else will be better. That's why we have to have a discussion on the real cost of suicide. We know that suicide is a major issue. Just over 7,000 men and women lost their lives in the combat theaters of Iraq and Afghanistan. Just over 20 years of war, more than 7,000 lost their lives. As horrible as that is, we also know that just over 30,000 men and women who also served in Iraq and Afghanistan have later decided to take their lives. 7,000 lost to the enemy, more than 30,000 lost to their own hands. This is a major issue. We know, however, and we've mentioned this already, that more than 50,000 Americans, this is outside of the military, more than 50,000 Americans just in 2023 took their lives. That suicide is the second leading cause of death in just about every age demographic. This is a major issue. But what's the cost to those who are left behind? So many, and we've listed several in this book. One of the things that I love about this little resource is that everything's footnoted. If you want to go and dive deeper into what's said, the stats, the statements that are given, you can certainly do that. But we know, and here's just a couple of them, children and teens who lose a parent to suicide are 3 times more likely to commit suicide than children and teenagers with living parents. I mean, that one alone, that should get a hold of you. Children and teens with parents who have committed suicide are 3 times more likely to do the same. You see, what you provide is an example to a child that when things do get rough, when they get out of control, when they seem overwhelming, when you're walking through the dark, the best thing you can possibly do is take yourself out of that situation. They now see that as an option. This real cost of suicide, it's not just the loss of an individual, as horrible as that is, it's a generational loss. It's a loss that touches friends and family. Adults who lose a friend or family member to suicide are at a higher risk than the general population of attempting suicide. Those who lost parents to suicide are nearly twice as likely to be hospitalized for depression as those with living parents. I mean, get a hold of that. Twice as likely. Losing a parent increases the risk of a child committing a violent crime. On and on and on we can go. But we know, having talked to families, and we give examples in the book, we tell stories in the book of people who have been through this, those families never get over that loss. In fact, so many internalize it, they take it personally, they blame themselves, and always will. The real cost of suicide is not simply the loss of an individual life, as horrible as that is. The real cost of suicide is the loss of a legacy, the loss of generations, and the regret, the brokenness, the hopelessness, and despair that is left behind for the people that we say we love. This is an important place for us to spend a few minutes, because if you really love the people in your life, you have to at least let the truth confront you. And the truth is, they will not be better without you. The truth is that instead of taking their pain away, you're taking the pain that you're feeling right now, placing it on top of them, and leaving it for them to deal with on their own when you're gone. There is a real cost of suicide. Here's what I would like for you to do as a final exercise as you get into this chapter. Make a list of the people in your life, the people that you say you love, the people that love you, that you know love you, that care for you. Make a list of those people. Once you put that list together, I would like for you to put at the bottom of that list what it is you would like to leave behind for them. This is an important exercise. Stop saying they'd be better off without me, and instead, having put that list together of people in your life that you care for and that care about you, make this note on the bottom. This is what I would like to leave behind, and then get to work. There's a real cost of suicide, but if you will be intentional about recognizing the people in your life that matter most, and then putting a plan together to leave something behind that matters, that cost is not something that will have to touch those that you care about the most in this life.